Hello and welcome to this quick information video on the 2023 Year 6 SATs. So we're quickly going to go through what the SATs are. They are standardised assessment tests that are given to children at the end of Key Stage 2, and they'll take place this year on the 4 days starting on Tuesday the 9th of May to the Friday the 12th. Monday the 8th is a bank holiday for the King's coronation this year. The SATs papers will consist of a grammar, punctuation and spelling test, which is focusing more on the grammar elements and punctuation and some spelling, and a more discrete 20-question spelling test on the Tuesday. The children in the afternoon will then prepare for the Wednesday, which is a reading paper, and then on the Wednesday afternoon they'll start preparing for the maths papers, which are delivered on Thursday in 2 parts, followed by the final one on the Friday the 12th. And we plan to have a good Friday afternoon. Writing is assessed using evidence collected throughout Year 6, and there's no Year 6 writing test. Just a quick note here, if the children are unavailable or absent on the day of the test due to illness, they may be able to take them up to 5 days afterwards, and that's at the school's discretion and dependent on the circumstances. The SATs are completed during normal school hours under exam conditions. The children are not allowed to talk, and they have practiced this in a number of mock tests that they've done over recent months. The papers are taken away and marked externally by teachers who are not known to the school on an online platform, of which I have done previously as a SATs marker. They're then sent back to the school in July. Each of the tests take no more than 60 minutes, with reading being the longest, followed by the GPS test and then the shorter maths tests, which are cumulative in the fact that overall they take 1 hour and 10 minutes, a mark a minute on the maths. There are specific arrangements for SATs, and sometimes children who have specific support will be given specific arrangements. This is at the discretion of the Department for Education, and we will be looking for automatic time and additional time to be provided in the coming days and weeks. And this just gives you an example of some of the things that we can use here. The results are marked externally, and once they're given, the children will be given a raw score and a scaled score, and then they'll state if they've met the national standard. After marking each test, the marker will convert the raw score to a scaled score. Even though the tests are made of the same standard each year, the questions may be different. So that means the difficulty of the test can vary. So the scaled score means that a child in 2017 is the same in 18, 19, 20 and 21, even if they may have different marks. We're looking for children to achieve a pass of 100, which means that they're meeting the national standard. The greater depth standard has been removed this year and will not, from our understanding, be reported. We're aiming for children who are wanting to challenge themselves to get as close to 120 as possible. Children who don't pass the national standard will just be provided with additional support in secondary school to help them and support them to catch up to the national standard. Taking a look at each of the papers, we can see the grammar, punctuation, and spelling paper is consisting of 2 papers. The first one is the grammar element, incredibly similar to the children's homework all year, which has been on spag.com, and lasts for 45 minutes. And then there is a spelling test only. Children are at present doing daily spelling tests, which they could or should be looking at each evening. The GPS tests focus on grammatical terms, sentence structures, punctuation, vocabulary, and look something like this. And there are the answers. The spelling paper looks something like this. On Wednesday the 10th, children will complete a 60-minute reading test. This will be a non-fiction, fiction and or poetry. There are different content domains that the children know really well. These are giving words in meaning of context, finding, retrieving information, and making inferences, as well as summary and some comparisons within the text. These questions may look something like this. And the parsnips. And the mark scheme looks something like this. Sometimes there'll be a slightly longer text where they have to find some information, and the mark scheme again will look something like this. It is important that children try to take the exact words where possible from the text rather than summarising this content, as that can lead to them getting less marks. This is exam technique, and it's something that we're already working on in class in the run-up to these tests now. Sometimes they'll have to do a longer response, something along these lines. You can always pause this video if you want to have a look in a bit more detail. There are a different number of marks, so 10% maybe just from giving and explaining what the meaning of words are. There's a lot of finding and retrieving information, nearly 40%. And 40% is some sort of inference, so being able to recognise and think, this tells me that this might be happening. Then we get on to maths, Thursday and Friday. The first is an arithmetic test of 30 minutes, followed by a reasoning paper of 40 minutes. The reasoning paper is simple, basic arithmetic. Multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, with some fractions, percentage and decimals work. These are things that children have been doing again all year long, including the morning maths every single morning. Here's some more examples of the questions that they may have to answer. They also will have to do 2 long multiplication and 2 long division questions. They will have to show the correct method to get the mark. It's also worth noting at this point that children will not be able to use any multiplication squares or anything like that to help and support them. Paper 2 will take place on the 11th of May, and then we'll try and guess a little bit what will take place on paper 3. These will do every other content domain and will be pretty closely linked to the white maths books that children have been bringing home this year. Here's some examples of questions. As you can see, some are up to 3 marks long. In this particular question, question 20, children needed to know what the word mean meant, and that means to add them all up and divide them by the number. Now taking a look with just over 2 weeks to go before the SAT tests, we're doing everything that is needed at school, including keeping the tests low key. I have had a number of conversations with parents regarding this, especially around Parents' Evening. We do not place any significant emphasis onto the tests in Parboil Douglas. It's not the way we do things. However, we do believe that it's very important that children work towards an end goal, something that they can show their true talents and true abilities, and that is exactly what these tests are for. The results do not show or reflect so much about those children, from their humour and their encouragement to children who've overcome adversity and crisis, to children who just find learning a little bit tricky. But what we can do is work together to make sure they feel not only confident but also competent to be able to answer as much of a test as possible. We just want children to do their best and work their hardest up to and into the class in the test themselves. It only focuses on what children know about maths and English. It doesn't reflect everything else about them, and they don't tell the whole story. We will not be classing your child as meeting the expected standard or not, as the way that we see those children leaving our school. There's so much more to them. And they're only 4 days out of the whole of the primary school time. What I now want to do is just briefly go through the additional support that is available if they so wish to, and you may wish to work with them on in the coming days and weeks, and maybe even that additional bank holiday that they have on the Monday. We have a number of things that children will be aware of. These are the boxes that children have been utilising all year. including a nice little helpful grammar book here, which we can have a little look through with little activities that they can do, and also some helpful maths books which will be published into there. There is some additional work here that they can put into the GPS maths and reading folders. These are just blank, but allow them to submit the work that they've done. But mainly what we've provided here is some examples of tests that they may want to have a little go at, and children have been doing this. So there are a plethora of tests here, from grammar tests with the answers, Maths Paper 1 tests, and also Paper 2 and Paper 3 tests. These are available for the children to complete. I will then mark them and provide voice feedback on them. Children also have the opportunity to log into their school-based account. Whilst I can't show this on the screen now as it's got children's names and data on, what I can say is that in there is a wealth of verbal voice and video feedback that I've provided to each individual child through the course of the year. This amounts to probably about an hour per child that they could take time to have a read of or listen to or watch as I go through past test papers and suggest questions that they might need to work on. So this is available for them in their normal class-based Showbie account. They all know the logins, they all have the QR codes to be able to get onto those. And it might just be something that they may like to do as well. And as a parent, you might like to be able to go through some of their previous tests with them and see where they've been going right and where they've been making some errors. Lastly, I just want to provide a bit of feedback to the class generally in how they have absolutely taken this under their wing. They're working so well together. They're supporting each other and learning from each other and caring about each other. And what's lovely to see here is that we're not doing it because of the SATs. We're doing it because we want to be better and we want to help each other and support each other. They've really come together as a class. They're really supporting and nurturing and caring for each other, and that's wonderful to see. And so I really do hope that not only is this something that we can celebrate in time to come with some great sets of results for them as they do go up into the next stage of their lives, but also that they get those results with a feeling of satisfaction of trying their very best. Having said all that, we've 2 weeks, and children do need that little kick and little nudge in the right direction. So any form of help and support with them, especially in the evenings, just doing 20 minutes here or there, that would really be beneficial and help them build a really important life skill of preparing and working towards an end goal. And then we'll be able to celebrate afterwards. Many thanks for the time listening to this video, and hopefully you found it useful. If you do want to get in touch with me, then as always, you've got my email, c.lawson@pda.lancs.sch.uk. And you'd be more than welcome to reach out to me, and I can discuss any element in more detail. Many thanks.